Welcome to the Science Centre and to the exhibition space that we have here. In this exhibition space, we've created a scenario, a forensic scenario that will allow you to explore how we use good, robust science to answer questions that help the criminal justice system. They help to exonerate those who are not guilty, and they help to make robust convictions for those that are. We've created this space in order for you to try and understand some of the many elements that exist within the world of forensic science. And so, as we welcome you to our world of forensic science for this short time, we hope that you're able to learn and enjoy what you see. Miss Leslie Simpson, a local woman, has been missing for approximately 2 weeks. A search of the surrounding area revealed nothing, and extensive local and national news coverage asking for information from the public yielded nothing until early this morning, around 2 a.m. At approximately 01:30 this morning, Wednesday the 5th of July, Police Constable 6789 Morgan responded to a 999 call from Miss Emma James, who lives on Leek Road in Stoke-on-Trent. In the overgrown back garden of a derelict house at number 270 Leek Road, a body was found underneath and protruding from piles of household rubbish. A foul smell alerted the nearest neighbour, Miss Emma James, to this derelict house, whose own property is approximately 20 metres away. It is thought that scavenging rats chewed through plastic sacking and hessian wrapped around the body, releasing the smell. The information we currently have is that upon arrival, PC 6789 Morgan met Miss James at her property and was then directed by her to number 270 Leek Road. PC Morgan made his way into the rear garden of that premises, which is heavily soiled with domestic rubbish and white goods from years of fly tipping. He noted a pungent smell, partly due to rotting rubbish, but also a shape subsequently identified as a complete human body. An ambulance was called, and upon arrival, medical personnel confirmed the victim was clearly deceased and partly decomposed, although serious animal scavenging was not identified. No further action was taken, and the coroner and forensic pathologist were informed. Formal identification is yet to occur, but unconfirmed reports indicate it is likely to be the body of Miss Leslie Simpson. There is a wealth of physical evidence that can be used in a scientific context to help the criminal investigation that will be ongoing following the discovery of this body. Let's look at some of the elements. Although there are far too many to go through in entirety, we will look at some of the key features. The obvious piece of evidence that we look at with empathy and understanding is that we have a human body present. It would appear that this is an entire complete body having arms and legs and a head. Quite often elements might be missing: a hand, a leg, a head, either due to animal scavenging or as a result of removal by a perpetrator in order to try and hide the identity of the individual. That's not the case here. It would appear that we have a young female, approximately 5 feet 6 inches, with dark hair. The state of the body, having been outside and covered in plastic sacking and tarpaulin, is that of approximately 2 weeks of decomposition. And we can see maggot masses that have started to accumulate as a result of being laid by flies, and they are feeding off of open injuries where there's a mouth, the eyes, or lacerations, as we can see here. There is an injury which appears consistent with a small caliber bullet wound, but that would be determined during the post-mortem. It's fairly obvious that the individual, either before death or as part of the removal of the body, has been tied up with blue twine, and this would be removed with the knots intact and looked at for elements such as DNA and even fingerprints to identify the perpetrator. We'll come back to the body again later on, But let's look at some of the other physical elements of evidence we have present. There are 2 mobile phones, which in itself is intriguing, both of the same model, and they could be interrogated for the intelligence that they have on them, who was phoning whom, how often was it used, what was the last phone call, etc. We also have drugs paraphernalia in the form of a syringe and in packets of drugs. And there are a number of different types of drug. We have powders, we have pills, and we have what looks like might be ground up leaves. And these would be investigated toxicologically to identify what they were. There is blood present, and that blood has dried on some material, and that would be tested to identify whom that blood came from. Was it from the deceased? Was it from some individual who may be unknown, who may be identified on the National DNA database? But of course, they would have to be in that database to be identified. We have what appears to be a small fire just smouldering away here, glowing embers, and there is a suggestion of paper having been burned. Now, also, you will notice that there appears to be a tin, a can, which had lighter fuel in it. And so the question is, has somebody come along intentionally with an accelerant to light the newspaper and possibly burn the evidence subsequent to having dumped it, perhaps fearfully worried that they may be found, or possibly an itinerant has found this derelict garden and has attempted to keep warm by lighting a fire. And one can start to put hypotheses together, for example, that maybe the itinerant climbed across the wall, lit the fire, scared any animals or rodents, and we notice here that we have a rodent who would have gnawed through the packaging, the plastic bag, maybe the hessian, releasing the decomposing volatile organic compounds that are produced during human decomposition. And this is indeed what alerted Miss Leslie Simpson to call the police about her concerns. We also notice that there's a petrol can, and again that would be tested for accelerant, as would the whole environment, and there is a suggestion therefore that somebody has come back subsequent to the dumping of this body, the primary dump site, in an attempt maybe to burn the evidence. There are other elements of material here that can be of great provenance, such as unused condoms, and there may well possibly be used condoms present here, and of course that would contain semen and blood, and as a biological fluid would be useful to identify a potential perpetrator. It's interesting to see a video camera, old style, and yet still functional probably, and that could be interrogated to determine whether or not somebody's left in a hurry but had been using it in order to record the environment, to play back time and time again, as many offenders often do. And then we look down closer to the front here, we can see a shoe. And this shoe may have been dropped by somebody climbing over the wall to leave the scene, and we can notice that there is a red coloured material staining the soles, and that could possibly be blood and would be tested for presumptively in the laboratory. All of the plastic, all of the glass and all of the cardboard here is evidentially valuable. It will have fingerprints on it, and that will be therefore dusted for fingerprints, and those fingerprints would be analysed in an attempt to determine who threw them away. Now, of course, at the point of packaging, the point of sale in the shop, and indeed the person who bought and used them and threw them away may be wholly innocent. But an awful lot of the work done by forensic science allows the exclusion of an individual from a crime scene as much as the inclusion. And then as we return to the body, we yet have to establish who this person is. This person could be a wife, mother, sister, an aunt. Certainly they have family relations who will be desperate to know what has happened to them, and once they find out that they have become deceased, will want to know how they died, when they died, why they died, who did it, how did they do it, such that the criminal justice system can see those individuals serve the appropriate period of time in prison as a result of what appears to be a heinous murder.